I'll turn it back over to Councillor Stenhouse. She was in the middle of asking some questions and getting some clarification, so I'll let her finish up.
So no, I just wanted, I wanted clarification on what our 50% was, and if that could be added to the motion that we pay 50%, the total of 45. 50%, but there's no dollar figure in that?
That would be a friendly amendment to Councillor Courtley. Yeah. So, okay, I'll go to our CAO first. And then...
So the intent of the motion is, like, we don't know what the costs are yet. One of the things that we know and Trevor this before, he's been looking at it for a little bit. The rate of inflation on the fire trucks has been unfortunately outpacing a lot of CPI. So we were using generic numbers here based on today and a little bit of a forecast. So really the intent is that 42.5 is, in that ballpark. It's really the motion is saying the difference between a fire rescue and a fire pumper rescue, half of the difference between those two we would pick up. So that's the intent of the motion. I think you're changing it, which may cause some issues. That it would change the entire intent of what Big Lakes has proposed.
Okay, well, we have the motion on, but what there's, I think Councillor Stenhouse just wanted to clarify what the cost would be, but what you're saying is, at the estimated amount would be 42.5, but it might be 44,000 when everything comes in and the final price tag is put on it. But it is the difference between, or 50% of the difference between the regular truck and the rescue / pumper truck.
Well, as far as I know, the prices that have been provided, those are estimated. They're not actual spec vehicles. So that's, I guess, why there's that 50% in there, instead of specifying a specific number.
Okay, any other questions, comments, Councillor Stenhouse? No? Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Courtley.
I think it really says a lot for simplifying and unifying our forces. So instead of doubling up, at the end of the day, I think it'll be a smart move. It's one of the first smart moves, I think, when it comes to the big expensive units like that, right? Where you can utilize it in both communities, right? So I think it's a great move.
Okay. All right.
As far as what we're trying to do is we're trying to, like I said, effectively was to.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think it only makes sense to combine these units because, and that's instead of 42,000 now, and save ourselves 400 cents. And not only that, there's all of the operating costs. You don't have to insure it. You don't have another vehicle to maintain. So there's a lot of operating costs that it would save on also. So that makes good sense to me. I do have a couple of questions though. One of them is, what is the value of our rescue truck in 4 or 5 years?
I did some quick calculations, and that's just based on purchase price. Purchase price for that truck was about $165,000. I couldn't actually find a specific number because it was purchased sort of in bits and stages, but I did kind of go back and I tried to find what I could, and what I found was $165,000. So if you take $165,000 and you divide it over 20 years, it was basically about $8,000 a year. With 5 years left, basically it works out to about $40,000 value if you want to calculate it that way. That's basically what I got.
Brian,
Sorry?
I'm not sure if you noticed, but we've lost Rod again.
Oh, I didn't. Donna.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shut off the video because I'm getting such poor reception. I thought if I shut it off, I might be able to at least hear everybody. Sorry about that, but it's just the internet connection here is really bad today.
Okay. Thank. So, do you think we'd be able to sell it for $40,000?
That's, you put it up as like Arlen was looking on Ritchie Brothers, you post it up there and see what you can get for it, basically. I can't say I might be able to sell it for $100,000. I might be able to offload it for $2,000. Like, I don't know.
It's
right.
okay. Well, you know what I was thinking. I mean, I guess my thinking is that the county was looking for this truck that they. I'll go ahead with our CO. He's got a comment on that.
And he's froze up.
Yeah. Sorry, really cutting out. So hopefully I'm not repeating or contradicting somebody. So I mean, yeah, as far as what we may or may not get, that's, it's tough to tell. I think the other issue here is, with Trevor's fire truck, or our fire truck, we actually ordered ours 2 years ago. So if there's 5 years left on the unit, let's say today, we're talking at least another year, maybe even 2 years with the trend here. So you're down to maybe 2 or 3 years left. Maybe I'm going on the conservative side, but I wouldn't use 5 years. I'd use 3 or 4. And so there is, there certainly is, let's say, a gifting part there, but it is getting closer to the end of its life, once the truck would arrive. So, thank you.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay. Councillor Stenhouse has another question.
So the gifting part is the truck only. It's not, we're not gifting an equipped truck to them.
No, they get the shell of the vehicle, and that's basically it. What their intentions are is to use, from the documents that I've seen, their intentions is to repurpose it as a unit to house their water rescue stuff.
Okay, any other questions, comments on this one? All right, with that, I'll put this to a vote. All of those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. Moving on then to item 8.5. MP Arnold Viersen meeting request. Anybody want to make? Oh, Councillor Long is.
Yeah. If not, to just bring up just for discussion, that council direct administration to work with council and MP Arnold Viersen to set up a meeting.
Okay, so that can get us going on some discussion. And who would like to start? Councillor Long?
Looking at, he has a long list of causes and things. The Selective Abortion Act, the Conscientious Protection for Medical Professionals. Interesting. The Equalization Fairness Bill that he brings up is C-263. His premise is fundamentally flawed, hugely flawed, actually. Alberta doesn't give him a check for $600,000 as equalization. It comes from gas taxes and general taxes and federal taxes. And then the equalization comes out of general revenue. It's not a carte blanche check that we've given them and now we're not being treated fairly. And because we're in a parliamentary system, that's how it works. It helps so that we lessen the haves and have-nots and take away that disparity. And those things can change throughout the decades as to who is a have and who is a have-not. Alberta used to be a have-not province for decades. And so it's premised that the money that we send as equalization payments program, we don't. We send taxes to the government, and the government then disperses it in an equalization formula that's been redone as early as 2009. So it's constantly changing and evolving. He's got it all wrong, and is asking us to make and give him a letter of support for it. I just have some of the concerns, that's all. As far as the oil shipping moratorium, we had a little tugboat that sank. You could throw a rock from shore and hit the tugboat, but there was not enough booms in Vancouver to come up and bring up to stop the oil leak coming out of this tugboat. We did not have enough to protect an oil spill from a sunken tugboat off the shore. We can't have an Exxon Valdez. And Gerard Inlet and Burrard Strait are so narrow. We're putting the horse before the cart before the horse. We need to get those protections in place before we start.
To get more information on. Now, he did ask, I mean, specifically on these two items, and I know that I was talking with Rod, and we thought that, we could have a general idea if we had specific questions on whether or not we wanted to bring up questions on these two to him at that time. Or if we wanted to ask questions about any of the other ones. So again, if we feel we have enough information and we don't want to ask any more questions or on one of these, we don't have to. But if we do, during our meeting, we could certainly do that. We should, and just will to support some of these other resolutions out there. Now, I want to sort of break that up first into, does anybody have an objection with meeting with him? I don't expect anybody would, no. I see a whole bunch of shaking heads, so I'm thinking nobody would have an objection with that. We've heard a bit of comments on two of those bills, but maybe, is there anybody else that thinks we should support or not support? Or if we want to talk to him about specific ones when he comes to meet with us. So, Tia Bellet, Councillor Danaka.
Well, looking at his as Councilman Long said, but the supporting farm families and small businesses and supporting farming and farm families, that would be definite for our area.
Absolutely.
And other than that, the rest of them, I guess if he can simply be here for 3 hours discussing this, so. But I'm not opposed to hearing what he has.
Anyone else? Rod, I saw you had came on for a bit. Did you have anything you wanted to add to these?
Sorry, Your Worship, I was just trying to see if I could do the video and I'd still get good dialogue, but no, I think it's better if I keep it off.
Okay. You didn't have any comments on this one, or did you? No? Okay. Rod, without your screen being on, if you have a comment to make, maybe you could just raise your hand so that we know what you want to do there. That would be good.
The virtual hand.
A virtual hand, yeah. Okay. Any other comment on this one? Seeing none. And okay, so we can meet with him, and I guess we can ask him. He asked specifically about a couple of resolutions. We can talk about those and any other ones that we want to bring up when we meet with them. Keep pushing broadband. Okay, move this question for voting. All those in favor? Carried. Item 9.1, water treatment plant project funding. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Long.
That council receive for information. Option 2.
Okay. I will open it up to our CAO to maybe talk about this one, just so that we're clear on where we're going with it and why. I know he sent out the email on it, but.
Yeah, so thank you. I guess it's administration's request that at this point in time, that funding for that project actually be funded from the unrestricted reserve. It doesn't have to be. And now it's not as critical because we had to make financial statements. We needed to know where that money was going. But unfortunately, I guess we didn't completely finish the audited statement. So I guess if council so chooses, we can, or they can receive it for information. It would be our recommendation to not do that, but if council wants to receive for information, we can do that.
Councillor Long?
I'll withdraw my motion. It'll make it easier. I'll withdraw my motion, and that'll provide me a little more opportunity to talk about it anyways.
Okay. Would somebody else like to make a motion then? I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt, that council amend motion number 315-20 to allow the funding for the water treatment plant project number 2019010 in the amount of $770,000 to be funded from unrestricted reserve. Now, and perhaps I'm just going to ask a question just for clarification now. We know that the water treatment plant has been completed, and we have to pay for it in one way, shape, or form. But has it not been paid for already, Rod? It's just a matter of where the money is going to come from? Because we did want it to come from a grant that we've applied on, and we just haven't heard on the grant yet.
That's correct. So shifting this funding source to unrestricted reserve just keeps our options open a little bit better. So yeah, we are hopeful that we'll get lucky in the grant process.
Okay, so it's got to be paid for. The grant is the hope, but if it doesn't, we still have to pay for it.
Absolutely, no free water.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
I'll go to Councillor Long. Councillor Long?
So, no free water. Yep. Great segue. Thanks. My only position on this topic, and I won't beat a dead horse here, but $770,000 that we're using of taxpayers' dollars of our town, of our constituents, so that the facility that is required to make sure that the people in the county get safe water is costing us in the town of High Prairie $770,000. When we should be, like any good business, if there's an increase to the cost of our service or services supplied, then those services go up. And that's the nature of a business. You don't sell your product, Mr. Courtley, for less. You don't go broke doing it. Sometimes you might feel like it, I bet. I'm just saying that we're willing to say absolutely that we're not going to charge extra to the residents in the county for almost $1 million worth of work. And then we're going to have to raise taxes as well if those discussions come to fruition. I just find it unfair. And it's a way to recoup it without being punitive. It's factual, it's needed, it's a service provided. Why do they get off not having to contribute anything to that?
One of the things that we did ask for, was a review of the utility rates, and maybe we can just get a quick update on where that's at. Because, I think there's two issues here. One is those utility rates and making sure that they are cost recovery, which I think our council is on board for. But there's also this, we got to make sure that this and go from there with the hopes that we're still going to get the grant. If we get the grant, it could go back into reserves, is my understanding. So maybe I'll just, on the utility rate side, I see Rita's, but I'll turn it over to Rod and we can chat on that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think there's two separate issues. That, you know, we've got to pay for the improvements that occurred at the water treatment plant. That's, you know, full stop, no issues. You know, we have to have, we already got it done. We got safe water. That's good. So, the actual motion here does that. I think the second question, which has been something that's been talked about a lot over the past year with this council, is looking at our utility rates. And I have you know, updated council a few times on a few staffing issues and basically just catching up on our books. And you know, we rushed our audit. We really wanted to hit the legislative deadlines, and unfortunately just came so close. And so as soon as we get this done, next thing is, you know, we're moving right into, as fast as we can, the finalizing our budget. And then Rita has two big projects. Well, first of all, I guess, finalize the 2020 financial statements, which is a ton of work, but there's still some work there. And then the two projects that you wanted to get to, and that's both the review of utility rates, so we can ensure that we're at a cost recovery basis as per your policy. And the next big project we want that's on Rita's desk is separating all the reserves. So those are two things that are very high on our priority list. And, you know, as I indicated to you a couple months ago, we really just don't want to give you timelines because I don't want to disappoint you. But it is something we really want to get to you as soon as we possibly can. So it's absolutely, it has not vanished from the administration's radar. It is something we consider a very important and high priority. And, you know, just chipping away at these unfortunate accounting deadlines that come on a calendar basis. And, you know, I don't want to make excuses, but, you know, reduced personnel is, again, put more wrinkles in the whole process. And, of course, the whole COVID thing, which has put a lot of additional work on a lot of staff. So apologize for not meeting your expectations. You know, Councillor Long, this is near and dear to your heart. And, you know,
certainly in the bulk issue, that, right? We can recoup from the bulk supply even. And then we know that is going early. Maybe we can prorate it. Maybe we can look at it from a big county. Pardon?
yeah. Get some of these things off our plate. It's haunting, and I know nobody would be more relieved than the person in the bottom right-hand corner, Rita, and getting a lot of these things done. So I can assure you she's working extremely hard. It's trying to get ahead of that snowball coming at you down the hill. And I just don't want to promise you because I don't want to let you down as far as the timeline, but it is a high priority.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our CFO. She's had her hand up a couple of times to speak, so go ahead.
I just want to clarify something. There's a difference between cost recovery and figuring out how you're going to fund a project. A project that's going to be amortized over 20 years. Because this water treatment plant we have is going to be a 20-year amortization. You're not going to have to do big renovations like this for 20 years. So that cost, which was 1.6 million, Vern can correct me if I'm wrong, you would take that over 20 years. But you still have to find a way to fund that for that 20-year cost recovery. So there's a difference between what you're suggesting as a user pay model and how you fund the cost of doing that work. Does that make sense?
sort of.
Okay, and I agree. I'm going to reiterate what Rod is saying. Our goal is still to get there and say, here's the cost of the infrastructure, and here's how they're going to be funded, and here's what it's going to cost every ratepayer for going forward.
Perfect.
You have to take the operating asset.
Mhm.
It's not right away you're going to recover $770,000. It doesn't work that way, right? So how do we fund that?
We'll let those sources of money to come out of until the grant is funded. Is there any other questions or issues on that? Saying not to pay for it out of unrestricted. Moving on then to item 13.1. It would be our CAO's report and action list. You would like to highlight anything before we ask them?
Do we have to make a motion?
Oh, right. Yes, we do. Sorry. Are you volunteering?
Councillor received a CAO Rob Resley's report and action list for information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I think the highlights over the last 2 weeks are, on a positive note, we did reach out and we've offered an individual and then Courtney Cunningham to assist us within the office. So hopefully with some of that additional horsepower we can get at some of the other issues. And I think I just want to do a bit of a hats off kudos to the public works area, most on the roadside, well, both actually, down to bare bones staff. Good news is we had a few more people back today. If you were out, you saw actually a couple trucks driving on the streets, which we haven't seen our logos on the streets for a while, so that is good news. Certainly, we our prayers go out to a few that are still not in the best of shape, and we're really pulling for them as an entire family. So we're wishing them the best. And the only other thing that's really been going on is a lot of EOC stuff. That's it's an important initiative. And it's something that is a little bit lacking, but going exercise is good, and that's getting us as closer to where we need to be, and hopefully all it's for naught, because we won't have any emergencies in the municipality, but it's better to be prepared than not prepared. So that's consuming quite a bit of our time as well. I think the only other bigger thing out there is the structures. We're doing our best to accommodate businesses in these COVID times and issuing permits for these temporary structures, and doing so, issuing the permits without actually having to go through the building inspection department first. So again, attempting to accommodate as much as we can from a municipal perspective. I know there's a lot of provincial rules out there which are not in our authority to change, that made some frustration with some of our business owners in that respect, but that again has nothing to do with the municipality itself. We're doing everything we can to expedite the process from our end. So there is some frustration out there, but I mind taking responsibility when it is our issue, but this one in fact it is not. So we're doing everything in our power to expedite the process as much as we can for our businesses that are the backbone of this community. That's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. And we'll open the floor for any questions or comments for our CAO. Councillor Danaka.
This is not necessarily related to the report, but you were talking about stuff that is coming forward, like the budget and all the rest of that stuff. So where we're at now, you and I had discussed prior about giving time to those agencies that the town supports, that if they require to adjust their budget accordingly, is there still that time frame that they can do that?
So yeah, so our plan is I ran into a bit of a hurdle today. Our plan was still to bring the budget forward on May 4th, or the finalized, right? So you have the opportunity to do. I think at that point, if there is a desire of council to ask some of our reporting bodies or these independent bodies to sharpen their pencil or to do things for 2022, council could make a motion for the entities to maybe give them a bit of a shout as to what your expectations are for 2022. So I believe that will in for 2022. So I do not think it's too late. No.
Okay, anyone else? I had a couple of questions. I'm just wondering how we were doing with that review of the for asset management on the sports palace and that kind of thing. Has it been finished yet, or any idea when it'll be done?
So I did get an email from MPE last week, and they'd indicated to me that they would actually be on site, I believe, tomorrow. So I sent them another email on the weekend, indicating just give us a call, or our arena manager a call, just to confirm times. So I'm thinking they're going to be here tomorrow, but so it is. So regardless if it happens tomorrow or not,
I was just wondering if there was any more development permits going on in the town, anything new there?
There is interest on the residential side, and non-residential, I guess, I don't think anything has been confirmed as of yet. But so there's a couple rumblings out there, and so I think just keep our
Pretty with that.
Yes, I did. Last discussion, I think, was yesterday. Yeah, her assignment is due this week, so she's likely not going to information from us. And so she's trying to do her bits and pieces that provided that product back, and hopefully it's a starting point for us to develop one for the town of High Prairie. So, I mean, obviously it won't be the information that she received so far has not been discussed as a whole or agreed to or anything like that. It was just a bunch of our thoughts to meet her needs for a project and hopefully commence or at least put a straw dog together for us. So I'm looking forward to actually getting her information, and at some point we'll review as a group and build on our strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. And my final comment is just a comment for, I guess, both office staff, which is shorthanded, and for Public Works, who is shorthanded. Thanks for all of you guys for chipping in and getting us through this difficult time. It's appreciated. And I know there's a lot of extra work going on with a lot of extra people. So to the Public Works team and Vern, thank you. And to administration in the office being shorthanded, thank you for what you guys are doing to get us through this time. All right, anyone else before we move on this? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor? All right, that's carried. That takes us to our written and verbal reports. And we'll start with Councillor Daneka.
Nothing to report.
All right, thank you. Councillor Long.
Nothing to report, but again, just to reiterate, hearts and condolences and best wishes and everything for everybody going through this, just in our prayers. So hopefully everybody gets through this, and another year from now we can all look back and go, woo. Anyways, that's it. Moved my nonverbal report.
All right, thank you. And a couple of meetings that I attended, just an update from Hart River Housing. They have signed an agreement with Stuart Olson, and that project will be commencing next Monday. They will be on site, and so it's going to be beginning right away. The other main development from Hart River Housing is that they are already starting to look to Air Lodge, very similar to what we are doing here, but there's a lot more issues there because that particular lodge is owned by the government and it's on government land, so they have to see if they can get government permissions and see if there's any government dollars there, but they are starting to work on that project also. Main reason is that they can tie into some of the CMHC funding and the proposal that they've already put together. So they've started on that road at this point. The other thing that I attended was a virtual Well, it was the Northern Alberta Mayors and Reeves Caucus that was on Zoom, and it was a meeting with Minister LeBlanc. He talked a little bit from the federal government side on some issues, took some questions, but his key messages out there is that they hear the issues of Western Canada. In his case, he's very supportive of it. He realized how important Alberta is. The gas tax, and he says, and the other thing is that they renamed that gas. I don't like to hear a tax double, but in municipalities, so they renamed the difference that's going to make for our community, but it's good to see on that. He also made a commitment to continue to fight for and support broadband funding, because they realize how important that is. And the other thing that he was really promoting, which from an Alberta perspective was good, was a national corridor. A corridor that runs from coast to coast, that was set up, would be there for years and years, and would enable any utilities or other resources to go through that corridor and have the approvals done once, and it wouldn't take years and years to continually get new approvals. Get one national corridor approved across the country, and then gas lines could go through there. Technology could be put through there if it was needed, whatever. It wouldn't require continuous reapprovals as that holds things up when you try to do a big project, which I thought was a great idea. I also I did another video because our COVID numbers were way up. And we're trying to get people to